Hi everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you for a great first full week of school and also for a really great back to school night. It was nice to see everybody and get to paint the picture of the families that go along with the students, and that's always nice to see you. And it was really nice to just get a chance to talk to you and talk about my vision for the school year. But as I've been saying, it's going to be a really great school year. I have a few announcements to start off. First, there is no school on Monday, September 4th. It's Labor Day, and then a normal week after that. Wednesday is a 1:40 dismissal and no 1:05 dismissals next week. I have two links on the updates page for you, and one of them is from science, something called a STEM showdown, and if you click on the link, there's some more information. And the second link I have for you is from Mrs. West Simon, who's our librarian. She's looking for volunteers, so if you'd like to help out the school by helping out the library, you can click on that and get more information. In reading next week, it's a short week, so we're going to continue some of the work we've been doing. The kids are going to be reading their own books and trying to dig deeper and grow their ideas by asking and then answering their own questions. I'm still going to use Fly Away Home as a mentor text, and I'll be showing examples of how to dig deeper, and the kids will have certain questions they can look to if they can't come up with their own. Then they're going to be making their own reader's notebook page based on what we've been practicing. They're going to try to show that work they've been practicing on a page that they're going to actually turn in, where they're going to grow ideas and ask questions and make predictions, and that'll be a grade that goes in the grade book. And we'll also finish our first read aloud, The Wild Robot, next week. The kids in writing are working on a realistic narrative that might have some fiction elements on it, in it based on how it's going and some other things that are happening in class. But they're going to spend their next week, they're going to be actually finishing their narrative. They're going to be finishing some certain styles of revising that we've been practicing, and they're going to learn how to become their own job captain. They're going to work with their partner to come up with a list of things that they can do on their own to revise, guided with some ideas from me. And so they'll be revising, and then they'll actually be publishing their first story next week. They'll type it and edit it, and then finally turn it in. Probably not next week, probably the week after, but we'll be getting to that point where we're publishing next week. In math, the kids will use unit cubes to do some volume review. They'll be building things and looking at cubes being built up and discussing volume. And then we will also be discussing volume in terms of our classroom. They'll be solving a big problem having to do with our classroom. And then at the end of the week, they will take their second district math test. They took STAR Math on Thursday, they took STAR Reading on Friday, and then they're taking their last kind of beginning of the year district test that all the fifth graders have to take, which is a math test, and they will take that on Friday next week. In social studies next week, we're continuing studying pre-Columbian America. We've had some discussions already about what it must be like to have a Native American community pre-Columbus, and this distinction between what we might think of as Native American communities now and what they were before Columbus and the European explorers came. We're really going to look at Native American communities and how they were adapted to their environment. So we're going to look at these like distinct geographical locations and kind of talk about what it might be like to live in those different areas, and then look at some historical facts about that. So that's going to be really our focus, is these different segments, Great Plains, things like that. And so we're going to look at those for Native Americans and discuss them and kind of compare and contrast throughout the week. We have no specific science next week except for science lab with Ms. DeMarco. No, we're not starting vocabulary, grammar, or spelling yet, and there's no leadership next week because we have Monday off, and that's usually when we do leadership. So that's all that's going on this week, only all of those things. But again, thank you for such a great week, and seeing you at Back to School Night was such a pleasure. I'm excited for another really great week with your students. All right, bye-bye.